Better late than never, right? On January 1, 2024, Governor Kay Ivey signed into law a new process involving adoptions. Some of those changes resulted in you and I, as notaries, being able to sign off and notarize the signatures of the parents, either the adopting parents or the biological parents. I thought it would be a really good idea for us to just take a quick look at the law about what's changing and then actually look at one, maybe two of the forms that we're going to see when we're out in the community notarizing signatures so that we'll feel more confident should we be asked to perform this type of notarization. My name is Michelle. Most of you know me already. I have been a commission notary for the past 19 and a half years here in Alabama, and for the past 11 years, I've been training Alabama notaries. I hope you will stick around to the end of this video because while gathering information about this new law, it brought back to memory three different notarizations that I've performed in the past involving parents that wanted to adopt and a parent that was giving up their parental rights um, on their child. And I think each of those unique situations will help reinforce some training and mentoring opportunities with you to help you feel more confident should you get the call to notarize adoption paperwork. There are only a few forms or documents that we as Alabama notaries should never notarize. Thankfully, that list is short, and adoption forms are not on that list. There have always been certain documents that we could notarize. It's my understanding that this new law just adds a couple of more forms to that list. Now, those of you who have completed Notary Basics training for Alabama notaries, you know exactly what I mean about the documents that we cannot notarize. But let's agree right now that if you do get a call from the community to notarize adoption forms, this is something that you can do or perform. All right, it is not off limits. Now, I am aware that there are some UPS store notaries, um, they will not notarize adoption papers. And that is because many of the UPS store notaries, their store policy is not to notarize, I'm going to call them family court type documents. I can't speak for all the stores because they're individually owned, part of the franchise, but I've gone into enough of those stores to know this, and I've had enough of those owners refer work to me because it was their policy not to notarize this type of form. But again, there is nothing that I am aware of that prevents Alabama commission notaries from performing this type of notarization. All right, let's get started. And we will start off by me showing you how I found out about this law. Here it is. We're at the end of the year, and I'm just bringing this to you. And I apologize for that, but with that mega law change from September 1, 2023, I am still learning more about all of those changes that this one got by me. So I'm going to share my screen for a quick moment. I want to encourage you to start checking out these resources on your own, especially those of you who are actively using your notary commission. All right, so if you're a subscriber to this channel, you have heard me say the following numerous times. It is true. What helps me to stay current about Alabama laws that impact notaries is by me being a member of the National Notary Association. I make sure that I periodically log on to their website and check their knowledge center. And so one of the links that I'll make sure that I include in the description or below in the comments is nationalnotary.org/knowledge center/news. All right. I don't think you have to be a member to access this page because, as you could see here, I am not logged in to my account. And so under Knowledge Center Laws and Resources, I just click on New Notary Laws. And since I am recording this and pulling up the different sites, it takes a little longer. All right, so now I'm going to search for Alabama, and I'm up to date except for 2024, so I'm just going to select current year. I don't need to put in a term. If you want to, you can. And there are two laws, two pieces of legislation. We're not going to talk about the one that went into effect October 1st of this year. I will cover that in a different video. We are going to talk about Alabama House Bill 101. Now that it has been passed, it is known as Act number 2023-92. Yeah, that makes sense because it was voted on during the 2023 session. All right. And so you would just click here. Well, before I click, it reads, House Bill 101 pertains to the express consents or relinquishments for an adoption which may be executed before a notary public. So prior to this being passed, so it was signed in 2023 and it went into effect 1/1/2024. All right, and let's see if I need to read any of this. I will. So what changed? Requires, with some exceptions, pre-birth or post-birth express consents or relinquishments for an adoption to be signed or confirmed before certain officers as specified, including a notary public. So here is that permission. Number 2, requires a petition to withdraw express consent for an adoption or relinquishment of a minor for placement for adoption to be in writing, executed by the individual seeking to withdraw the express consent or relinquishment, dated and signed by either 2 witnesses or a notary. So this is helpful information as well. So it's letting us know in certain situations, the document requires notarization. In a separate and different situation, the individuals can either meet with the notary or just have 2 witnesses present. To me, that's really good information. If a person calls me and says, hey, I need this notarized, I'm going to ask them to look at the form. Is there a place for 2 witnesses and a notary? If they say yes, then I'm going to say to them, well, you've got a choice. You can either have 2 witnesses or you can have me do it. All right, so by me reviewing this now, I have a better understanding so I can be better prepared and give more accurate information when called upon to perform the notarization. And then the NNA, their legal area department, offers an analysis. House Bill 101 is a result of a 4-year effort by the Alabama Law Institute to revise Alabama's adoption laws. It attempts to streamline and make less costly the process of obtaining a child through adoption. While House Bill 101 is lengthy, and it really is, the NNA is most interested in the role the bill assigns to notaries in the adoption process. Rightly so. We don't have to be experts, but again, the NNA is reassuring me, you may feel differently, that this is something that I should feel comfortable performing a notarization for. Traditionally, depending on the state and child placement agency located in a state, several documents in an adoption dossier or home study will require notarization. And this is redundant. All right, so if you wanted to see the actual law or bill itself, what got passed, you would just click this link and it will take you straight to, I don't want to do it, I already have so many windows open, but I think it's like a 20-page legislation. So the NNA is correct. It's quite lengthy, but the most important thing for us to remember is, yes, these are documents that we can sign and notarize and feel comfortable that we aren't doing anything that we should not be doing. I do want to comment also on the comment here. This bill was passed to streamline and make less costly the process of obtaining a child. When I get to the part of me telling you about 3 adoptions, and I've notarized many adoption paperwork, but these 3 were memorable. And I recall one set of parents just telling me, they gave me an idea of how much money they had spent so far. And so when they called me to do this, they really screened me. And they screened me because they were tired of having notaries make mistakes on documents and having to have it repeated several times. So if you do decide to perform this type of notarization, being prepared is so important, and being accurate in the work that you'll be performing. All right, let's see if we can take a look at two of these forms. All right, giving consent to adopt and relinquishing. Wow, consent. I want to encourage you. Let me give you a moment, make sure that this, yeah, it did pull over. I want to encourage you to check out this website, eforms.alacourt.gov/search. Adoption is here just because I typed it. But this is a site, if I were to click to go home, it would bring you here. Alabama Administrative Office of Courts website. And they've got a lot of good information here. And I have bookmarked the forms page because it just comes in handy. There was a time early in my notary career where I just wanted to practice notarizations. And so this is a place where you can come and just download forms and read up, get familiar with them, and practice. All right, once you get here, you'd search under adoption, and here you'll find quite a few adoption forms. And here is a consent or relinquishment of minor for adoption for an individual. So let's just get a look at it so that we're familiar. All right, how many pages is this form? 5 pages. All right, and so if you've taken any training from me, whether it's just the basics or notary basics, we go through that checklist on what to do first. Keep in mind the individual who has asked for your help, who has hired you, it's up to them to fill out the form. So when I get a phone call to notarize their signature, I'm confirming on the phone with them that they have already filled out this 5-page document. I think I need to make this bigger. I apologize for that. Something tells me there was no way you were going to be able to read it. And so I'm not helping them, nor should you fill out a form. That is not our responsibility. But what I don't want to do is have the parents or the adults, whomever, in the room wait for me to arrive to fill out this lengthy form. This appears to be a form that they can fill out online or print and fill it out by hand. Okay, I'm now at page 3 of 5. And so once they tell me that, yes, they filled out the form, I'm going to remind them not to sign anything until I get there. I'm going to ask who's signing. I'm going to ask about their ID that they have to make sure when I do arrive, it's a successful notarization. I know what's going through some of your mind right now is fees. So I'm scrolling. All right, here's the withdrawal form. So this appears to be a form that pages 1 through 4 is when consent is being given. And then page 5 is when they are withdrawing consent. But again, I'm not telling them this. This is for my information only. And so that I can correctly journal what's being signed and to make sure the signers understand, are you giving consent or are you withdrawing, and make sure the right forms get filled out. All right, I'm going to go backwards because I mentioned fees. The way that I determine what the fee should be is I need to calculate the Alabama approved notary fee first. In order to do that, I'm going to go to the notarial certificate, which is here, right below the signer's name. Here is the venue that I'm going to complete. I, the undersigned authority, certify that blank, whose name is, sounds like one person, signed to the foregoing and is known to me, and who acknowledge before me that the statements herein are true and correct, and that he or she voluntarily executed on the same date. All right, so at first glance, I would say this is an acknowledgement, but I'm not sure. If I treat it as an acknowledgement and only one person is signing, I can legally charge, took a blank, $10 to notarize the signature. Okay? But if I go back to page 1, something caught my eye. Two things caught my eye. On page 1, oh, okay, I'm wrong. Oh, no. This reads, I blank, born on blank, having been first duly placed under oath, do hereby voluntarily and unequivocally state and agree and consent. It sounds like a jurat notarization. And what also caught my eye was this, affiant. Usually when I see affiant describing the signer, that signals to me an oath needs to be performed. Now I'm just telling you how I will handle this. You may disagree, and that's fine. But for me, even though the word acknowledged is here, I'm going to administer an oath for this. And so my notary fee is going to be $20 instead. And then if I am traveling to meet with the signer, I will charge a reasonable travel fee. All right, nothing fancy here, straightforward with dating, adding the venue, my information. So the seal my signature, my commission expiration date. But if the affiant or the signer, the customer, is withdrawing or relinquishing their consent, they're going to fill out this form, wait for me to meet with me to sign it, and then here again is my notary certificate, acknowledged. I don't see anything about an oath. Excuse me. But notice this is that form that either can be witnessed. We saw this in the law, in the code. 2 witnesses or notary. And so when I get the phone call and the person is telling me they need to sign a notice of withdrawal for adoption, and that it has a place for them to sign, 2 witnesses and a notary, I'm going to feel comfortable saying, you decide. And if the customer is like, well, what's better? I'm going to say, I don't know. You choose. I'm not going to assume anything, okay? So I would just simply say, if you choose to have it notarized, this is what you're going to need to do for me. All right. And so again, it's have ID. This would be my fee. And for this one, no oath. So notary fee $10 plus my travel fee. I'll fill in the dates. I'll fill in the venue. Sign my name, my commission expiration date. If I know what probate court county is, I'll fill it out. If I don't, I'll ask the customer, the signer, to do that or leave it blank. I know it's down there in the notary certificate section. Normally we don't have to do that. This is not the venue, although it may end up lining up to be the venue, but it may not. So for that, any questions at all, have the signer call the probate office that is handling this case and ask. Have them ask. And or you can even ask, hey, listen, this is what I'm being asked to notarize. At the bottom underneath the certificate, it's asking for the name of the probate court and the county. What is it? Can I fill it in myself? So that is one of the forms. And next we'll go to the second form, and then I will talk about the 3 adoption notarizations. I thought I had another form for us to look at, but when I pulled it up, it is very similar to the document that we just looked at. And so instead, I want to share some notes that I made about the form and about performing notarizations for adoptions. For me, I've always treated notarizations, each notarization differently. To me, not all notarizations are alike. You may feel differently, but I do think there are some documents that are more important than others. For me, there's a big difference between me giving a parent, me notarizing a parent's signature to allow their child to go on a field trip. That's one thing, versus me notarizing documents for a foreign adoption. All right. Um, in preparing for this video, I Googled the average cost to adopt a child in Alabama, and Google put it at $30,000 to $65,000 for an adoption. Now, again, I didn't go any deeper than that. I don't know if in that example the child is born here in the US or another country, but that is in line with what one set of parents said to me about how much money they had spent over the course of several years. And so, me making a mistake, notarizing a form so that little Johnny can go to the botanical gardens here in Madison County or space camp, is not the same as me notarizing documents that will eventually need an apostille for a country that is not part of the Hague Convention, okay, or authentication. All right, and then with the fact that we've got Amber Alerts, trafficking, and all of that in the news on a regular basis, yeah, I treat adoption paperwork differently. I follow the same steps, but I approach it a little differently. Don't forget, with all notarizations, and definitely with this one, you're going to perform that verbal ceremony. And if you recall, the document itself said that as the notary, you and I made sure that they read the form, understood the form, and were signing voluntarily. I do that all of the time, but definitely don't want to overlook it with this type of notarization. I always ask, is anyone forcing you to do this? Are you doing it voluntarily? If the document does require an oath, make sure you know how to perform that oath. And I'll cover that. I don't think I think I do have a video up with the oath. If not, I will get one up for you in a separate video. If the parent has any questions, I mentioned this earlier, I refer them to the probate judge's office. I am not going to voluntarily try to research answers or speculate or guess at answers. I'm going to continue to direct them either to their lawyer or to the probate judge's office. And that is the same office that issues our notary commissions, okay? If the caller said to me they need to find a form to give consent or withdrawal, I am not going to send them the link to that site that I just shared with you. Nope, because that may be premature in the whole process. Again, I'm going to say, listen, I don't know, but why don't you contact the probate judge's office? And if I'm able to, I'll give them the phone number to call if I want to be helpful. If the signer doesn't know how to fill out the form, they have questions about what's being asked, again, probate office. I'm not going to attempt that. Just checking my notes. I say for this type of notarization, really proofread your work. Make sure you're not making any careless mistakes, because that mistake could delay an adoption. And wow, this just came to mind. Excuse me. The couple, one of the couples repeatedly asked me about my commission expiration date. In fact, they've been calling around. Unfortunately, at one point, they had documents notarized properly by the notary, but by the time the adoption got to the point of a hearing before the judge, or at some point, the original notary's commission had expired. And so I don't know whether it was an Alabama judge or in another state or country, but they had to start over again. So what I am suggesting to you is, if your commission is coming up for renewal within the next few months and you're being asked to notarize adoption paperwork, you may want to rethink accepting that assignment. Okay? Yeah, I'll leave it at that. But that, I mean, I've really heard some horror stories over the years. I hope you found this helpful. You now know where to go on the NNA's website, National Notary Association website, to check the status of bills that are being considered by our legislators and what gets passed and signed into law by our governor. And I showed you one website that may be helpful, especially in this situation, to see, all right, what's the outcome of this law? What kind of document may I be presented with? We talked about determining what the notary fee would be for a particular form. Because I've been long-winded, I am going to talk about those three adoption notarization appointments in a separate video, just a part 2. Check it out, and I appreciate you tuning in. I'll include links. If you found this information helpful, let me know in the comments. And more importantly, if you've performed notarizations on adoption paperwork, I would love to hear how things turned out for you. Thank you for listening and tuning in. Consider subscribing to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.